Okay, let's take a look at how we can compare fractions and how we can add and subtract them. All right, so say we have a fraction. So we take a look at like 1/2. All right, so let's use a different color than that. So we have 1/2 and 2/3. Use a different color than that too. Let's go with this one. 2/3. Okay, so 1/2 and 2/3, and we want to know which one's bigger. All right. Now, if some of you have done construction or even cooked with a recipe, you'll know that the 1/2 cup is smaller than the 2/3 cup. Or you'll know that when you're dealing with a ruler, 2/3 of an inch is bigger than 1/2 of an inch. All right. But if you don't have that knowledge, you can compare a fraction, two fractions, by changing the denominator of both the fractions so they're the same, and then you look at the numerator, and whichever numerator is bigger will be the bigger fraction. So let's see that in action. Okay, so in order to change the denominator for both of them, you need to find the common denominator, and specifically you need to find the least common denominator. That's usually the best way to go. So the least common denominator, when you find the least common denominator, what you're doing is you're looking at both denominators, looking at the 2 and the 3. And another word for the least common denominator is the smallest common multiple. So the smallest common multiple. So let's see that. Let's take a look at that, and I'll show you what that means. So for example, say we have so we take the 2 first. All right, so here's 2. And what are the multiples of 2? So the multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth, right? It goes on for infinity. You could also go backwards in infinity. You could actually go in the negative direction as well, but we're not going to go there. All right, now let's take a look at the 3. So for 3 we have 3 and 6 and 9 and 12 and 15, and then we have 18 after that, and then so forth and so forth and so forth. All right. Now, the smallest common multiple, or the least common denominator in this case, right, would be not the 2, because 2 and 3 are not in it's not 2 does not go into 3 and 3 does not go into 2, so that doesn't work. Okay. What about 4? Well, 2 goes into 4, but 3 doesn't. But then we see a 6. Now 6 right here, and a 6 right here. What else is common? We have a 12 here, and a 12 here. And if we wanted to, this could go to 14, so 14, and then after 14 is 16, and then after 16 is 18, and then we'd have another one in common, right, which is 18. But we're looking for the smallest common multiple, right? That's what a least common denominator is. It's the smallest common multiple. Well, the smallest common multiple, therefore, is 6 right here. Well, if that's the smallest common multiple, then we need to change the 1/2 and the 1/3, the 2/3, so that there's a 6 on bottom. All right, so how do we do that? Well, let's take a look at that. So here's the 1/2, and we got to change the 1/2 to something that has a 6 on bottom. Now, how are we going to change that 2 to a 6? We got to times it by 3, right? Now, if we times it by 3, and we only times the bottom by 3, that would equal 1/6. But is 1/6 the same as 1/2? No, it's not an equivalent fraction. It doesn't work, right? So the way to fix that is you have to times this by 3 as well. And then when you times that by 3, this becomes 3/6, and we know that 3/6 is 1/2 as well. 3 is exactly 1/2 of 6, so it's 1/2, so that works. We're going to do the same thing with the 2/3. So here's the 2/3. Okay, and we're going to times this by 2, and we're going to times this by 2 as well. Okay, and now what we have is we have 4, 6, and then if we compare them, let's do that right now. So here we have 3, 6, okay, and we have 4, 6. All right. Now, I stated earlier that the way you compare them is you look at the numerator now, not the denominator, because the denominator is the same now. So if you're just comparing the denominator, well, they're equal to each other. But we're not comparing the denominator. We're comparing the numerator. And which one's bigger? Is the 3 bigger or is the 4 bigger? Well, obviously the 4 is bigger. So in this case, 4/6 is bigger than 3/6. And we remember that 4/6 is the same as 2/3, so we know that 2/3 is bigger than 1/2, and that's how you compare it. Okay, so let's take a look at adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, similar process, very similar process, and I'll show you that right now. So let's say we have 4/5, and let's say we have 5/8. Okay, well, in order to add these or subtract these, we need to change the denominator so they have the same denominator. And the way we do that is what we did before. We have to think about what common multiple they have, okay? And we want to find the smallest one. So we know that 5 is, has 5, 10, 15, 20, and we can go clear up to 100, but we're not going to go clear up to 100. We're not going to clear up to 80. We're going to stop at 40. And the reason why is because 5 goes into 40 8 times, and 8 goes into 40 5 times. And there is no smaller multiple, all right? So in order to change this, we need to times the top and the bottom by 8. Okay? And now that's going to equal 32/40. And we're going to times this as well by 5, both top and bottom. So let's do that now. So let's do that. So 5/8, okay? And we need to times that by 5, and this by 5. Okay? And now that's going to equal 25/40. Now let's just say that we wanted to minus them. So now, if we minus them, we're going to have, just one second, we're going to have, let's bring it up here, 32/40 minus 25/40. So we're not minusing the 40s, we're just minusing the numerators in this case. We're just minusing the numerators. So what is that? Let's do it by hand. 32 minus 25 oh, sorry, this one first, so we don't get confused. Make that a 2, make this a 12, and now that is 7. And then 2 minus 2 is 0. So the answer would be 7 over 40. And that is what the answer would be if you're minusing them. Okay? And if you're plussing them, you do the same thing. You'd plus them. So let's look at example of plussing it, and we'll just do a real simple fraction. Some real basic. So here we go. So let's take two different fractions. Let's take something like 1/3 and 1/2. Let's plus them. All right. So what's a common multiple? The smallest common multiple of 3 and 2? Well, that would be 6. All right. So if we want to have 3 and 2, if we want to have 6, then for the bottom of both of them, then we need to take this and we need to times it by 2, top and bottom. And now that equals 2 6. All right. And then this one we need to do 1/2 and times it by 3. Oops. And now that equals 3 6. Okay. And then we're going to plus them. So 2 6 plus 3 6. And now we have 5 6. And there's the answer. And we just plus the numerators. We didn't plus the denominators. Alright, so that's the basics when it comes to adding, subtracting, and comparing fractions. And that's pretty much it for this video. In the next video, we're going to talk about multiplying fractions and dividing fractions. We're going to talk about reciprocals, and then we're going to talk about how we can use fractions in some equations. All right, that's that.